A very good evening to each and every one of you. Welcome in the ring. Let's fight. We hope that you guys are great. We hope that you guys are well. The folks did tell us that when the bell is going, they can't hear us, so we were holding there for it to end. But welcome in the ring, folks. Good to have each and every one of you on the line, wherever you're joining us from this evening. Beatrice Selby has reclaimed her status first at ringside tonight. Beatrice, good to see you on the line, followed by Sherry DeRidder and all the other folks joining us this evening. Wherever you're joining us from, share the live, expose the truth, smash that emoji button, good folks, and partner with us as well, good folks. Dorrit David, we see you there. We're holding for a couple of you folks. We are fired up at our end. Good people, and we are ready to go. Fired up. We can get a guest dropping by too to make some sense of the nonsense we heard today on BJ's Presser. We come into that to help us make sense of the nonsense. We have a guest dropping by. Pace, 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 and power. Good to have all of you on the live. Folks, share the live. Expose the truth. Please and thank you. Partner with us as well. Smash that emoji button from the many places that you guys are joining us from this evening and all over the world, folks. Share the live, share. Sean of Fortune, I see you there. Glycis Mingo Burn, I see you there as well. Those folks as well who will be coming back to watch us later on. Share the live too. Smash that emoji button too when you come on. And folks, remember to partner with us as well. And we're trying to make it as easy as possible. All right. The folks are saying they're not hearing any sound. We got sound on our end. So you better turn up. Folks, are you hearing us loud and clear? You better turn up things at your end. You better turn up. The folks are telling us they're hearing us loud and clear. Please and thank you. You cause me to question myself now. Folks, are you hearing us loud and clear? I see somebody saying sound. Leslie Hamilton, we see you there. Debbie Collins, we see you there as well. Andrew Griffith says loud and clear. So folks, adjust by your end. Elizabeth Williams says yes. Angela Jordan says yes, I did. I shared it live. I exposed the truth, folks. Smash that emoji button as well, good folks. And partner with us too. A very, very important point in our program. And we try to make it as easy as possible for folks to do all of these things. And look how easy we're trying to make it, guys. Look how easy we're trying to make it. Please and thank you. Look how easy, yeah? Look how easy we're trying to make it for folks to partner with us, right? We're coming right in your face now. You see that little sign in the corner there that says, it's beside on. The partner with us sign right there. Right there, folks. You see it right there? You can scan from right there. Those of you who got your debit and your credit card, you can scan your screen right there, and it'll take you to that page where you can contribute to our program right there, folks. Right there. You can scan that with your smartphone, and it'll take you to a page where you can contribute to our program via your credit to debit card, your Zelle, your Cash App, whatever it is, folks. We're trying to make it as convenient as possible. We got a lot to share with you folks tonight. So smash that emoji button, folks. Share the live, expose the truth, and partner with us as well. Good folks, please and thank you. Welcome. We're holding for some of you because once we start, we didn't stop it. We got to fight card set. That's what we want you all know. And we are fired up and we're ready to go to fight card set. That's what I'm telling you. We set. That's what I'm saying. We set. And folks, we got a lot to share with you. Fantastic folks tonight. Quite a lot to share with you folks. So we're excited to get to it. Good to see Roderick here. Good to see Irwin Dunn and lots of the other folks who are joining us. Good to see all of you good folks on the live tonight, like Wendy Stephen and Alson Cortez. So let's go. We see Roderick here and a lot of other folks joining us as well. We're fired up, good folks, and we are ready to go. Like I said, the fight card set is only some of them missing, but when you come back and you start watching, share the live, expose the truth, folks. Smash that emoji button. I see hundreds of you are watching us. But you haven't smashed the emoji button yet, good folks. You don't expose the truth yet with the share. And folks, partner with us too. And we're making it so easy. You see the QR code right in there. Scan that and see what comes up, the man. Scan the QR code right there. Right there and see what comes up. Scan the QR code. Good folks. As I said, right there, right there, right there. And see what comes up right there. Good to have all of you on the live. Donald Daly, Karen Thorne, Beryl. Good to see you. Beryl Crawford nowadays. I see Diane Abrams is here. Don Joe, Marlon Jacobs, Emily Durant. Emily, I see for a long time. Where went Emily? Please and thank you. What have I done to you, Emily? Forgive me. Forgive me, please and thank you. Debbie Horn Kirk, I see you as well. Charles Nelson on the live too. Karen Thorne and Faye. I see each and every one of you folks. We got quite a ways to go. Quite a ways to go. We got the fight card set. And let us show you. There's a couple things. A couple things we're rocking and coming in with, folks. A couple things. Good, folks, next week, we have this conference in Washington on Guyana. The Washington Conference on Guyana is the 27th and the 28th of next month. And folks, if you all partner with us, we can't go down the road. If you all partner with us, how we gonna move to bring you guys valid and credible information? And you all know we fired up and ready to go, ready to pursue the truth wherever it leads, good folks. We're fired up and ready to go, folks. You see this Washington Conference? Debbie Hohenkirk, you see this Washington Conference? It's causing a lot of people, a lot of problems. Emily Durant, you see this Guyana Conference on Washington? There's a lot of this Washington Conference on Guyana. You see them letting me basta. Imagine what it's doing to them, boys. Imagine what it's doing to them, boys. This is going to be a definitive conference. I can tell. I can feel it in my pores, folks. And next week, over the weekend, next week, I think early next week, I'm heading off to Washington from where I am here in the South Carolina, in the Carolinas, leaving my abode here and heading down to Washington, folks. You think these things cheap? You think it is cheap? But I want to bring you all valid and credible information because, folks, I fast just like y'all, right? Herod Carto, I fast just like y'all, Herod. Gail Alicock, Valme, Shabon, I fast just like y'all. I want everything. We want somebody to tell me. I want to see for myself. So I'm heading on down there on behalf of y'all. On behalf of y'all, the people. And that is why, folks, I say partner with us. Because unfortunately, we can't run on water. I can't run down by the plane and throw some water in the fuel tank. It won't go no way. As a matter of fact, they would charge me if I attempt to do that. Put some water in the fuel tank. It won't work like that. We know you fast, right? And I'm the leader of the fast team. I fast so bad. I want to see. I want to know. I heard that some of our parliamentarians are going to be meeting with congressional leaders. I want to be there, bringing you all ball by ball coverage, folks. It's going to be big. It's going to be big, folks. It's going to be big. And you know what? As we run that, you know, that was the subject of discussion this evening. That was the subject of discussion at this press conference today. That was the big subject, which leads us to the opener tonight. That was the subject of this press conference by y'all boy. Folks, share the live. Smash that emoji button, please and thank you. And partner with us as well. That was the subject of this press conference today by y'all, by Papa Jagabat. This Washington Conference on Guyana got them going crazy. Got them going wild. Herod, Rosamond, Gail, Sibon, Valme, Ingrid. It got them going wild, Lester. Joylyn, Debbie. It got them going wild. Patricia Craig. It got them going wild. Diane Graves. And it got them going wild. Let ring the bell one time for my friend Diane. Let ring the bell one time. Who vex? I miss you, Diane. I miss you. I miss you. Good to see you on the live tonight. It got them going wild. And it was the subject of the press conference today by young boy, young friend, Papa Jagabat. It was the subject of a press conference by him, talking of bundle of nonsense and foolishness. Folks, take a look. Take a listen. We got the opener for y'all. We got the opener. Take a look. Take a listen. Share the live, good folks. Smash that emoji button, good folks. And come. Come, don't come around with funny. Come, let me go down the road, share the live, expose the truth. The opener, young boy on the Washington Conference on Guyana. Take a look, take a listen.
So we have seen this group that will be going now. We don't know if that's the exact group, but Village Voice has spoken that will be going to Washington. So I want to speak a bit about Washington and what came out of the meeting with President Ali. Now, from the releases we've seen so far in Guyana, especially the one that came out of the Congressional Black Caucus, a readout of the meeting. So that will give you an indication of what was discussed in that meeting. That there were 3 sets of issues that were discussed with President Ali. One had to do with energy and food security. The second, enhancing regional economic prosperity. And the third, sustainable environmental stewardship. If the team that goes from the PNC were asked any question relating to these matters, what their policies are, they clearly would have a hard time answering any of these questions, because on each of these matters, they have not defined a national position, much less have an international position on the issue. President Ali also, at that meeting, updated the congressmen on what's happening in Guyana, on education and healthcare, public infrastructure, and job creation and expanding prosperity here in Guyana. Nigel Hughes will go to the Congressional Black Caucus or a couple of others and take a list of roads being done in Region 5, because we have already laid the ground for that, and we respond appropriately. President Ali then spoke about democracy issues, and I don't know what APNU will be able to say to the Congressional Black Caucus on democracy. What are they going to go and talk about? Oh, the list, the voters list. Now, the voters list has been found not to be fraudulent. The second point that they will want to make is about biometrics, enhanced biometrics. And we are in favor of enhanced biometrics, provided they don't disenfranchise people. I guess the president had an opportunity to speak about the mischief making and about the use of congressmen's name to pursue an agenda by people like Rickford Burke, miscreants and criminals like Rickford Burke, to make money for themselves. And that I think the embassy pointed out that a conference that they have in Washington, that this conference, the embassy tried to buy 10 tickets just to test whether they would be broad-based, whether they're interested in Guyana and a broad range of views. And they were denied the purchase of the 10 tickets to go to Rickford Burke's event, which he'd make money from. He didn't want, they would have been inconvenient to the lies that would be told there. So already people are sensitized as to these issues that will happen in the U.S. We have made it clear on all of these issues. So the fact that Hakeem Jeffries, who was part of that meeting, issued a separate statement, Robert Passad was absolutely right that at the meeting, this issue was not raised about inclusion here by Congressman Jeffries. He spoke because I guess he's mindful of his stature as the minority leader in the Congress.
Yep. That is some of what Papa Jagabat said in his press conference today, folks. Share the live, expose the truth, smash that emoji button, folks. Partner with us as well. You know, I got to guess who's coming on in a little bit, folks. I got to guess who's coming on. And I'm going to ask him what is his advice for this team going to Washington. I'm going to ask him that. So I hope he prepares himself. I already know that he's in the virtual green room. I'm going to ask him one of the questions I'm going to ask him is his advice for this team heading to Washington. Folks, we're a couple minutes in. Share the live, smash that emoji button. So your boy had a press conference. But Aubrey Norton, leader of the opposition, had a press conference as well today, good folks. And some of what he said about the Guyana police force is very interesting. The selective amnesia, who they're prosecuting and who they're not prosecuting. Very, very interesting, folks. And as soon as we've come past that, I want to have my guests. It's a different format tonight. It's a different rollout. We're going to talk to our guests shortly. But this is what leader of the opposition, leader of the PNCR, Mr. Aubrey Norton, said just today concerning the Guyana police force and this GCOM issue. Why Jack Dio so much? He what the opposition doing, and what the opposition is doing, and what we can tell the congressional leaders, and what we can discuss at this conference. So, why is he so worried about that? Folks, Mr. Aubrey Norton, leader of the opposition, on the behavior of the Guyana police force. Take a look, good folks, and take a listen. Very, very telling, very, very insightful what he said as well. Folks, take a look and take a listen. Mr. Aubrey Norton, leader of the opposition.
The Guyana police force has been politicized and operates in a very unprofessional way. The opposition does not condone illegalities. But at the same time, we will not allow the politically motivated police force to act in a very biased and unprofessional way. This week, a GCOM registration clerk appeared before the court to answer a charge of forgery in connection with the production of a national identification card. She pleaded not guilty and was subsequently placed on a $100,000 bail and asked to lodge her passport at the Georgetown Magistrate Court. We in the opposition must now ask the Guyana Police Force and GCOM what progress has been made since we reported dozens of cases of forgery of election documents and voter impersonation to the police in the run-up to the last local government election in June 2023. In April, we discovered and reported cases of fake signatures on candidate forms, where one and the same PPP agent signed for every nominator. In addition, several residents in Region 5 made official reports at the Fort Wellington Police Station of their names being placed on the PPP list of candidates as nominators without their permission. We also formally brought these matters to the attention of GCOM. The leader of the opposition later wrote Commissioner of Police Acting Clifton Hicken, stating that, and I quote, "These acts are criminal in nature and require the intervention of the Guyana Police Force to bring those who have committed these crimes to justice," unquote. In response, the commissioner gave the assurance that his police stations had the required competence to investigate the reported allegation of forgery and voter impersonation by PPP agents. To date, the Guyana Police Force has brought no such charges. It went conveniently silent and forgetful. Evidently, Commissioner Hicken has again kowtowed to his PPP political puppeteers. Likewise, GCOM has completely turned its back on the matter, even though forgery and voter impersonation go to the core of the responsibility to conduct free, fair, and credible elections. Equality before the law demands that all those accused of a similar crime must be prosecuted similarly. But in Ghana, under the PPP and its handpicked, incompetent, and unprofessional acting commissioner, the law does not apply to PPP agents, members, and cronies. That explains why a GCOM registration clerk could be charged with forgery, while several PPP activists can avoid facing the brunt of the law. Guyanese must not accept this state of affairs. It is this level of lawlessness that had caused our society to degenerate. It must be recalled that Vice President Barra Jagdeo was accused of bribery and corruption, and the police failed to act. Former Minister Dharam Lal was accused of rape, and again, the police failed to enforce the law. The PPP has brought law and order to its nadir. We again call on the Ghana Police Force to investigate these allegations based on the evidence submitted to them. We also call on GCOM to uphold its constitutional responsibility for fair and credible elections by ensuring that the police investigate all criminal breaches of their system, and the charges are laid as is necessary.
You heard it there. How is the GPF so selective? How are they so selective? You know, and I heard the leader of the opposition there talk about corruption in the PPP. I heard him there, how corrupt they are and how they have this country of ours corrupt. Very, very corrupt, folks. Y'all remember this? We're going through the throes of the ExxonMobil audit scandal. The ExxonMobil audit scandal, folks. Well, I have a gentleman this evening, no stranger to you, who understands these issues. He's an expert in petroleum, expert in oil and gas. None of expert when people give you a little paper because you walk around the place begging fit, and then you call yourself doctor. He actually went to school and studied, worked at the highest levels of the US government in this area. He understands these issues. And that is why the PPP, especially by Jagdeo, very afraid of Dr. Vincent Adams. I'm pleased to have him with me this evening. Dr. Adams, a very good evening and welcome. Welcome, Doc.
Good night. Good night, Sherrod, and good night to your wonderful listeners.
Excellent. Doc, we have a lot to discuss. I really want to
quite a bit.
I really want to keep our viewers informed what is happening with this scandal. We couldn't reach out to anybody better than you. We got a lot of things we want to talk about in this ExxonMobil audit scandal, in which 214 million US there that could have been challenged in spending by the ExxonMobil folks, by us as Guyanese, that the ExxonMobil folks spent between 1999 and 2017, suddenly dropped down to $3 million US dollars, from 214 to 3 million. It came up, Doc, this scandal, it came up in the PNCR's presser today. I want you to take a listen, folks, at what young economist, bright fella, Elson Lowe, said about this particular issue. And Doc, I'd love to have your take on it on the other side. I'd love to hear from it. Give us a sec. I think we're trying to get it queued. Do we have it? I think we do. Take a listen. Take a look.
The PPP is putting our oil wealth at great risk and is disinclined to protect our national patrimony. Guyanese do not believe for 1 minute that the second vice president was unaware that ministry officials were in the process of negotiating a 211 million US reduction in the questionable expenses highlighted in Guyana's first oil audit. The vice president's history is characterized by many lies, misinformation, and inconsistencies. The vice president is known to be a control freak who does not allow people to operate based on professional competence. When the opposition met with ExxonMobil's representatives just a few days ago, Exxon representatives stated definitively that this reduction had been agreed to by the government. If Byron Jagdeo, the nation's chief oil policymaker, did not know of and agree with this outcome, how could the operator express such confidence that the matter was settled? Rather than blaming public servants for carrying out the tasks assigned to them, Jagdeo and his cabal need to come clean to the nation as to what really was going on at the Ministry of Natural Resources. As the PPP scrambles to cover its tracks, we believe that it is a good time to take stock of the extreme financial losses the PPP is exposing Guyana to by refusing to competently fulfill its audit duties. The opposition has committed to working to ensure our people get maximum benefit from our oil sector.
The PPP says, Jagdeo says he don't know what's happening here with this issue. Vikram Bharat, the minister, says in his ministry, this team auditing this thing, suddenly it was 214, it's now 3 million. He don't know neither. What's your take?
I am telling you, Sherrod, and you know, I couldn't say it any better than Mr. Lowe, obviously. But what's more worrisome about this here, Sherrod, is that this is the easiest audit we're ever gonna have. This is the audit before we even start production. It should be a piece of cake. Anybody could conduct this audit and come up with these numbers. It doesn't even have the complications of when you start production, you've got all of these subcontractors and drilling. It doesn't have any of that. This year is easy, should have been easy. Now, here is what this, you know, the government wants us to believe. First of all, the IHM market, let's get this clear. It's an international specialized company that does this type of stuff. Okay? So let's get that straight. The second thing is, remember that the GRA went a lot, agreed with it. As a matter of fact, the GRA said it should have been higher. But in order to expedite this thing, we're going to go ahead with this. There was a study done, and I can't remember who published it, that showed normally you get a little dispute. The average is about 25%, to be honest. So the 13% is even on the low side. But let's say we accept it. In any case, they would like for us to believe that this man, our vice president, Mr. Jagdeo, is gonna, we all know, I mean, he's got his thumbs on everything. So he would like for us to believe that somehow there are people under him that are just going out there and doing stuff, and he's repeating this number. He was the one who went to the media and said, you know, this thing is cut from 214 to 11 million and to 3 million. He doesn't know where this data is coming from. Guide us again. So there, you know, at best, at very best, it's incompetence. At second best, if there is, it's negligence. Okay? And at worst, there's some question about corruption. Imagine IHM, you know, the auditors. If we to believe this story, this cockamamie story that nobody knows what the hell is going on, I don't know who would believe that to start with. But if we to believe that, Sharon, remember now, the number didn't go from 240 million to, let's say, half. You know, you start arguing. Well, I know, you know, normally when you're negotiating, you always, well, okay, let's do half of the difference or something. It didn't go from 214 to 107 or to quarter of it. It went from 214 to 3 million, which is what 99% reduction. In real terms, what that is saying is that this specialized company, this international company that does this stuff for a living, that have to maintain their international reputation, they are 100% wrong. The GRA is also 100% wrong. So that's what they're trying to allow us to believe. But here are the impacts. To let people understand what this means. Let's just take this easy audit because, of course, there is more to come. And by the way, here's some key points to note also, Sherrod. This audit, remember that it was made clear by this administration, they hate doing audits.
And we will come to that too.
Right. So So this here was initiated and the auditor were procured by the coalition government. So that's the only audit we have on queue right now.
The IHS market.
IHS market. So that was not even this was not even an audit that was initiated by the current government. So they didn't have a choice. And then on top of that, it had to be leaked. It had to be leaked for us to
Thanks to Cyber News.
to know anything about it.
But
So here's the impact to the real man. If you use the 214, like I said, it's still a low number as far as I'm concerned, but let's accept it. Guyana would be getting $107 million because of the 50-50 share. So if you do not get that if that $107 million that we'll be losing could put at least $100,000 US dollar, Guyana dollar in every single household pockets, $100,000 out of the 107. And this is not taking money from any place else. This is what you're retrieving, what is lost out there. Let's assume here's the kicker. You remember I told you about those more difficult audits that are coming in? Right now, we have 5 projects that are already been approved. Well, there's a 6th project coming that will be approved. If you add up those numbers, they come up to $55 billion. $55 billion that would have to be audited, and even more, at least $55 billion. So imagine this year, if you use 13% of that, 30% of that, and you do the calculation, right? 30% of that is 7 point something billion. You do the calculation, each household, and if you use the same 13%, each household will be losing $3 to $4 million.
wow.
Just
Wow.
do the calculation.
Wow.
It's 55 billion. You do the numbers, 13% of that, and then you calculate how much we're going to be getting robbed here.
Mhm.
Each household could get to $3 to $4 million. So it wiped out that $1 million that the vice president has been saying it's impossible. It's going to take up all of our oil revenue. We're not even counting the oil revenue above what's being taken away from us. So
Correct.
so that is the key impact that people ought to be knowing. Now, here's the other kind of BS that I hear. When the PNC, and I think it was Mr. Norton, who called for a timeline for these audits, etc., you hear from the VP, well, that's going to interfere. It's going to take a long time. When you put such a audits. Here's how audits are conducted, Sherrod. In the initial phase, while you're doing the audit, what you do, you pair exports from both sides with each other. If I'm a drilling export and their drilling cost, the drilling export has to come and answer questions. And that's where the back and forth occurs. It's not after the report is written.
Mhm.
So when the report, and then you ask for the proof of the costs and everything, that's where it's supposed to be produced. If it's not produced, it doesn't exist. That's a basic rule. So when the report is written, there's no surprises after that. Exactly, there might be a little fine tuning here or there in terms of the wording of the audit. But this back and forth that they're claiming happens after, it doesn't happen. All the back and forth is between the exports on the upfront side. I'm a drilling person. I come to talk to you as a drilling person, or I ask a question. The first thing Exxon does, if I ask a question, they run for the export. They say, okay, this person has to come talk to you. So this is not, that's how it's done in any place you go. Now, the other thing, let me touch on this here too. I noticed my good friend Christopher Ram, in today, I think it's today's or yesterday's paper, said, well, if we had this commission, it probably could have eased the confusion. Where that's, I think I lost you there.
No, I was saying it is in today's Tabak News. Christopher Ram is arguing that if we had the Petroleum Commission, we would not have been in this position.
Well, I disagree with my good friend. I disagree. I think my good friend has a lot of. I think he's got a lot of hope, or I don't know what it is. But do you really believe that a commission will be also independent? That's the assumption. We know, especially when you look at the commission, the commission bill. We all criticized it because of the imperious power that the minister has. So here you have a commission that is guaranteed the people who are going to be appointed there are going to be what? So there's no way that you're going to get a fair commission. And let my friend remember, my friend Christopher Ram, remember that for the Natural Resource Fund, Christopher Ram name was presented by the government to be on that NRF. Christopher Ram and myself and Mr. Lowe, because we then made an arrangement with the opposition for the opposition to have 2 members of that NRF, as you recall. They refused to have Christopher, they refused to have me, and they refused to have Mr. Lowe. So right now, I don't even know who the positions are filled by, if they've ever filled. So that is to show they have no intentions on these commissions and everything else to put anybody unless they're under their thumbs. So, my good friend, one of the brilliant minds and person who's fighting this fight, I hate to say it, but I disagree with him about this commission. That's not going to happen, not under this administration. It never is going to happen.
Doc, let me raise 2 quick other questions before we head off at this particular topic here.
Yes.
With this audit. As you on Christopher Ram, it is Christopher Ram who said in, I think, yesterday's papers, he made a point. Well, Jagyo was making the point that it's not him with this audit, is not Vikram. Well, Vikram said it's not he's supposed to do the audit, it's GRA. Barr said he what's happening with this department in natural resources is the GRA. They don't intervene. Well, before I get to Christopher Ram, let me tell you what Jagyo said during the course of his press conference today. He said, us politicians, we don't intervene in these matters. But the technical people, the all-knowing Mr. Jagyo, he said, we have a hands-off approach. So you may be wrong on this commission because he says he has a hands-off approach, Dr. Adams. Take a listen in his own words. Take a quick listen to what he said in his press conference on this particular issue about having this hands-off approach, he says.
I've seen a lot of comments about the audit issue. And these comments are justifiable. The comments are justifiable. But the fact that we are debating this matter is only because of how this government has approached the oil and gas sector. Had this happened on the APNU, we wouldn't have known about the issue years from now. Like what happened with the 2016 contract, the signing bonus. It took us years to find this out. Now, we have not concluded this matter as yet, but we discovered it largely because of how transparent we have been. Now, you would recall that particularly the Stabroek News, when they raised this matter about the sloth in concluding the audits, I said to them that this is a matter that the politicians will not interfere with. That it's purely for the technical staff and the technical agency, namely the GRA, to deal with that matter. That if we're not going to rush any staff member or of the GRA or the GRA to conclude the matter until the they are ready to do so in their own judgment. And because we believe that politicians must not get involved in, they don't have the capability. You need accounting, auditing capability, and they must not get involved in these matters.
Dr. Vince, you say you don't trust none of them. You don't trust you don't trust Vikram, you don't trust the Petroleum Commission. Jab, you say they're transparent, Doc. It's not he, it's GRA supposed to do it. Vikram says not them, it's GRA supposed to do it. Christopher Ram, just yesterday, he said this is not even the GRA. He says the minister who has the power to audit or to delegate who can audit, hence the IHS market. What do you say, Doc?
You know, it's sad, really. I mean, you wish you can laugh at these things because that's the only thing you can really do if somebody.
He said it's because they're transparent. That's why we have noticed the 214 million US come down to
that's right,
million.
exactly. Because it had to be leaked to start with, okay? But here the other thing: does anybody really do believe that this government is transparent? One, and secondly, that this vice president allows the technical people to do their work. Let me give you, and then he says, if it was the administration, well, you see, the thing is, what they don't understand, there is a history, and there are records there. Let's go back to the short period of administration. Let's go back to the short 20 months that I was there, Sharon. Could you recall a single day that I was not speaking for the EPA in the newspapers? Did you ever hear the vice president or any other person speaking for the EPA every day in the newspapers? Did you hear anybody else besides Dr. Bindo speaking? Did you hear anybody else but the GRO chief? And I can go on and on, the guys who's at lands and surveys. You can ask the newspapers or go back to the clippings. No minister or president used to come and speak to us. We had the freedom to speak to the press on behalf of our agencies and ministries. It's in the record. So for him to say, well, if it was a coalition, I mean, it's totally ridiculous. And for him to really say that he's transparent, when has the vice president not only have allowed the technical person to speak or the newspapers to call him to talk? Even though when has he, besides that, when has he ever had a member, a technical person sitting next to him to answer technical questions? Who tries to answer those technical questions? Isn't that he who answers these? And then he spouts a bunch of nonsense like satellite is going to be doing independent measurements, talking in technical terms, and he doesn't have a clue instead of having technical people there. So this year, I mean, to say those type of things, it's so bizarre and being faced.
Yeah, but Doc, talk to us about that as well, because as you said, Mr. Kemrach there at the EPA, an institution you once helmed as the CEO and did so commendably. Folks are begging you to come back because of the nonsense they're doing now. He ran out the other day saying that there's satellites watching the water for shimmers and glimmers of oil spill and so on. What's happening? What's happening here?
Now, that's another laugh story. First of all, again, I guess he's taking a cue from the vice president to be talking about something that he has no knowledge of. This guy, you need to come out, and when he says these things, you need to come out and tell the public what is his qualification to be speaking on these technical subjects. Zero, zilch. So the first thing is, no satellite. The guy said you can detect sheen to the lowest levels and all this kind of stuff. It's absolute nonsense. So that is one thing. The second thing that doesn't make any sense is you probably need to go read the EPA Act. The number one function of the EPA Act is for prevention. For what? Prevention of a spill. Okay? So you've got to prevent the spill. So even if you're picking up, even if there's a spill and then you're suddenly picking it up from satellite, it's over. Okay? That is why, Sharon, that is why When I was there in the coalition, we worked with the World Bank to put together a plan, a documented plan that showed an organization chart to have a petroleum unit with highly qualified people with 5 to 10 years of experience to make sure they're on board the ship 24/7 to monitor, to make sure that their permits are in compliance and everything to prevent a spill. You don't wait until a spill occurs and then, oh my God, we've got a spill. It's too late. That's nonsense to start with, besides what he's saying. Here's the other thing he's saying. And again, I don't know if these are deliberate lies or he's being ill-advised or what. Here's another thing that he's saying. They're dumping water into the ocean. And this guy is telling the people that this water is being treated. It's absolute nonsense.
Lies.
To certain standard, the only thing the water is being treated towards, and folks, if you don't believe me, go look at the permit or go look at any document, is for oil. When the oil comes up, every barrel of oil, of course, water comes up with it. So you've got to get rid of the water. So they've chosen, by the way, against all international standards, to dump it into the ocean. So they've decided to dump it into the ocean. So now that water contains, first of all, it's about 3 times hotter than the ocean water. It has all kinds of toxic chemicals, lead, mercury. It has radioactivity in it. I just name it. It's there. Let this guy show us where it's being treated for those things. Absolute nonsense. It's being treated for oil because you can never remove all of the oil, right? So there is a standard for the oil, which is for every 1 million barrels of oil of water that you dump, you're allowed to dump about 30 barrels of oil. Now, if you add up, I did some back of the envelope calculation. If you add up the amount of water that you're going to be dumping into the ocean over the life of the field, you're going to be my thing was like close to 300,000 barrels of pure oil by the same standard that he's talking about. But here's the egregious part and the callousness of this administration. This every single standard. I was in the oil field. In the oil field, I used to drill and as a reservoir engineer also. The standard practice is you re-inject the water back into the reservoir where it came from. The World Bank standard said that unless it's not economically feasible or technically feasible, and both of them are not even close. They made the choice to dump it. When I was at the EPA, we stopped that. Go read the Payara permit that we drafted. We said no dumping of water. You have to and you must re-inject. You know what they did? They removed in the next, I think it was a Yellowtail after the Payara. They removed as soon as I left. They went ahead, but they're not even smart enough. They left the language because we drafted the Payara. They left my language in the Payara, which says that there shall be no dumping of water. It has to be re-injected. But then when they did the Yellowtail now all by themselves, they removed that. They removed it. So all of this nonsense about, and then when you hear they're good stewards of the environment, when I hear the vice president just saying that the policy of the coalition, they won't have any policy. Well, here was the policy: zero dumping, zero flaring. That's the other thing, zero flaring. When we left, we said zero. Flaring is prohibited. Guess what they did? They put in the language into the permit to allow unlimited flaring as long as you're paying a paltry little fine of that little whatever the fine is. At the meantime, Exxon is making probably, I think, 30 times the amount of money that they're paying in fine just for flaring. So that's the kind of stuff that you hear that is just misinforming or lying to the people.
Yeah, and Doc, let me pick you up on that note, because you're hearing a lot out there, especially as regards the oil and gas industry. Irfan Ali, who puts himself out there as another expert, the little czar under the big czar. He was recently at this summit, the Concordia annual summit. And here they were discussing underneath the green transition. That is the theme. Underneath the green transition, the oil industry, as you know, that he has run out there. He went to Washington. He's now in New York, and as part of that, he was at this annual summit.
Yeah.
And as you're talking about being good stewards of the environment, here is Irfan Ali say, look, it's a delicate balancing act. But we're so good with the environment, right? We could pump as much oil as we want pump, right? 10 FPSOs, and it won't harm the environment because we're doing well at home. Don't take my word for it, Doc. Take a listen to what he said at this summit. As you said, they're talking all kinds of stuff, and make sense of it for us. If you can. I know you bright bad, but sometimes you just can't wrap your head around some of the things they say. Take a look, Doc, and take a listen.
To the world in terms of climate change. And then when you look at the oil and gas sector, you know, this sector is emerging. It's a new sector with huge reserves. The reality is, even if we go up to 10 FPSOs, we will still be a carbon negative country, a carbon sink, negative carbon sink. And that is because of the enormous carbon that the forest stores.
Doc, what do you make of that?
You know, again, these guys, I don't know, again, if it's deliberate misrepresentation of what's expected. These are out of the same mouth these folks talks about standards. I don't know if you recall, because I've said this over and over. What their mantra is that it's the cost of development. There's technology, Sherrod. We have the technology for zero flaring, for example, if you want to go there. That is why the coalition, even Exxon made a commitment before they even start drilling 1 barrel of oil. It's on record. Exxon said we will have zero flaring under the coalition. We put it into. Matter of fact, if you recall, when I was at EPA, at one instance we shut Exxon down when they were not able to fix their flaring equipment. If you recall, after I left, Minister Edgell, and I think the same Vice President, they said, these are their words when they were questioned, this here is the cost of development. Those were their words.
Yeah.
Exxon said, when I was there, which just, I hit the roof. They never repeated it again. Exxon said that don't worry about it. The reason why flaring is okay is because you guys are a carbon sink. Meaning, for example, we're coming into your country, which is a clean, pristine country, but we're going to mess it up because you're clean, you've got a capacity to be messed up. While at the same time, Cheryl, they're making a commitment with the rest of the world to cut flaring by 50% in a few years. So
Wow.
Those are facts. I've been talking about those things. So here is Exxon saying to Guyana, stupid Guyana, that's because that's how they look at us, saying that, hey, you know something, you guys are too clean. You've got a capacity, that's exactly what the president just said. Did you hear what he just said?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If 10 FPSOs, we're still going to remain carbon negative. This the same language? I remember Mr. Edgell, and I think the Vice President Jagdeo repeated those things and say, well, here, it is the cost of doing business, meaning, hell, the point is, we can produce, I've always said that, we can produce oil as long as we apply the technology. The problem is, Exxon does not want to apply the technology because it costs more. And it's not a whole lot, it's not going to cut into their profits in any way. It's about greed. And these folks, people who are supposed to be leaders, the coalition has stopped all of that. So when he talks about a policy, the coalition policy was zero flaring. And that was documented in the permit in every place. The coalition policy was no dumping of water. You have to re-inject that water back. The coalition policy was to make sure that we were building capacity, like that World Bank document that I told you about, where we had set up a petroleum unit to have the same firepower as Exxon, to be watching them. And then you hear this nonsense from the executive director. Well, we don't have to have people on board. We're going to
Satellite.
from the satellite. I mean, so those are the kind of stupid nonsense or just sheer ignorance. So,
Yeah,
so those are the policy of the coalition. No dumping of water, no flaring, build capacity so that we can monitor the oil industry and have people on site. Those
Yeah.
are the policy. If he wants to talk about policy, those were the policy of the coalition when I was there.
Doc, let us circle back to where we started, because I want the people to understand where we are. Because if we continue to do this, you know, if we continue to, for instance, mow down all the mangroves in Region 3, what do we leave for the future generation in the name of development? What do we leave for our children's children and the future generations? What do we leave to them in the name of development, right? If we let Exxon, you know, through some backdoor deal with some phantom people in the ministry, bring down what they owe us, 240 million US to 3 million, what do we have for development in our country? And in the press conference of the PNCR today, Elsinore economists made the point that these people never like audits. PPP never like proper audits because they like teeth bad. But proper audits need to be done. As we wrap up, Dr. Vincent Adams, make sense of this for us. Take a listen to what came out of the press conference by the PNCR. I'd love to have your response on that.
It is incumbent on the government to ensure that proper audits are done. We remind the public that in 2022, we highlighted that the PUP was not even interested in auditing these companies. They allowed an audit deadline to lapse. Stabroek News echoed these remarks, citing Christopher Ram, who termed the government's attitude nonchalant. Kaichor News, on the other hand, has frequently cited opposition calls for audits to be released and the government to commit to a specific date for their completion. Throughout the latter months of 2022 and early 2023, the President, Second Vice President, and Minister of Natural Resources dodged questions on Guyana's oil audits, with the government repeatedly pushing back the dates by which audits would be completed. Faced with this alarming trend, we even went as far as to call for an audit timeline to be enshrined in law, a cry which fell on deaf ears when the new Petroleum Activities Bill was passed. The PUP's attitude has so alarmed right-minded Guyanese that both Kaichor News and Stabroek News have published editorials in the last few weeks directly condemning the PUP's governance of the sector. It is time for change.
It's time for change, Doc. Where do we go from here?
I'm telling you, Sharon, I like I said before, that was brilliantly articulated. So I can't touch that. But the other policy, which is a key policy, was to follow the rule of law, which was the policy of the past coalition. The other policy was not to interfere with the operations. I mean, I'm a living example of that. I was never interfered, as you know. Matter of fact, under my when I was there, under my tenure, we shut down some major companies because they weren't following the rule of law. 2 international mining companies. One of the biggest companies, I don't want to call the name, but they came around afterwards and even built a hell of an environmental protection organization. Here's another thing, Sharon, that people, this is very serious now, Sharon, very serious in terms of following the rule of law. And I hear in these last meetings that were held for this new project here, the meeting that were held during cricket and stuff, not to get people to go there, right, to these things. Okay. I heard that even the Exxon specialists and them are saying the EIA, the environmental impact assessment, is the Bible, which is the same thing I've been saying, which set the stage for the law as to how you run things. Well,
Correct,
guess
right.
what? These same people are not following. And a one that stands out like a sore thumb is the production rate in the EIA. The LISA one says specifically the safe operating limit, safe, shall not exceed 120,000 barrels per day. They're bragging about producing at 155,000 barrels per day. And the EIA has not been changed because you got to go through a process. It's a very rigorous process to come up with that 120,000 as the safe operating limit. They look at pressure, they look at the size of pipe, everything has to come up with that safe operating limit. So they're violating their own EIA that they're saying right now is the gospel and the Bible that shall not be exceeded. So another policy that the coalition had in place when I was at the EPA, and I could only speak for the EPA because the same thing is happening throughout the other agencies.
Yeah,
but I know
correct.
I know the facts. So imagine what would happen, Sharon. They're increasing the chances of a major spill, right, by exceeding the EIA limit. So that's against the law to start with, but we are still allowing it. If you have a spill, even the other thing that they spoke about was the spill response plan. When I was at EPA, we refused to sign it was the worst plan ever. And not only me said it, Sharon, the Auditor General came up with the same conclusion. It was a bad plan. So there's no plan, no
Right.
spill response. And on top of that, you have no liability coverage to cover a spill. They come up with $2 billion. When we were there, that was the language that we put in there to be unlimited. Anything over and above the insurance, the parent company guarantee has to cover it. They went and they changed all that now to $2 billion. Of course, it's in the court of law, and you and I know about the slam dunking they got from Judge Kissoon. So if they want to put these, let's put the record. And I intend to continue putting the record for the public to see before they come out with these outlandish statements. So and then
Very well.
Exactly. So but we're the only voice to really inform the public. And you mentioned there, what would be my advice?
Yes, correct.
To the folks who are going is for us to continue to tell the truth. But here's the amazing thing about this, though, Sharon. I have never seen in my entire life, and I've probably been in the earth longer than probably most of the listeners and yourself, I have never seen where an entire government is going bizarre over a guy they call a criminal. This guy is sponsoring a conference, but this thing have them doing things that I have never seen a criminal make somebody do things that was unbelievable. Their entire cabinet had to make a special trip to Washington. You've got the president coming out now and suddenly becomes the biggest advocate for Black people, talking, for compensation for Black folks, because of slavery. And this is the same guy who shut off funding for the, what is that?
Strategy.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And then on top of that,
school.
That's right. And getting rid of all the
Linden Enterprise Network.
Absolutely. And getting rid of the key Black employees of the federal agencies. I can speak for the EPA, Sherrod. I looked up the numbers today. We had the 16 top level positions, directors in those positions. Out of those 16, there were 9 Black folks, which is consistent with the number of employees of the agency. As a matter of fact, they were almost the same. It was 50-something% employees, and that's about 50. So 9 out of the 16 were Black. Do you know that they have gotten rid by some 6 out of those 9 top employees of the agency? Wow. And on top of that, the 6 plus an Indian employee, one of the most young, brilliant lawyers that I've ever seen, that I've ever had the opportunity to work with and to supervise. And the reason why they got rid of him because he was standing up to Exxon.
Correct.
He took Exxon.
They want pushovers.
That's
exactly the agency now. So they want firm people.
And
they want professionals.
And people are just leaving the agencies. The agency left, right, and center. There's no capacity building. You know that World Bank report that I told you about when we were building capacity to bring people in? The other thing that we did that was already approved, except we were waiting for funding. And it was supposed to be a 2020 budget, but because of the elections and the COVID, there wasn't any budget in 2020 except for an emergency budget. We had the plan, the World Bank plan with the 36 people we were supposed to hire. On top of that, we set up a what we call a study leave policy. So they're talking about policy to build capacity because we basically had nothing in the agency. We had a policy where employees are, we encourage them to go apply to universities and get admitted. When I left, a lot of them had gotten that acceptance to university. When they went to the agency, to the executive director and say, hey, Dr. Adams had encouraged us to do this. Now we've gotten accepted. Is this thing still? You know what he told them, Sherrod? It's unbelievable. He said, first of all, he said that what I was doing was illegal, which is total rubbish. But then the second thing he said that I wanted to turn the EPA into university, and that's not what it is for.
Wow.
To build capacity, I wanted to,
Yeah.
But that's the kind of thing that I know people are leaving like crazy, and people are walking in. You don't know where they come from. They're being sent from wherever they're sent from, and you hire them. That's not the way we even hire. We had a special panel.
And flatterers.
That's exactly
As
correct.
Cameron Ramsden would say.
That's
Doc,
exactly correct.
Doc, we gotta have you back to broaden and deepen on this particular subject matter. We don't cover it nearly enough,
Yeah.
in our public discourse here and elsewhere. I really want to thank you for your time with us this evening, folks. Dr. Vincent Adams is not no fly-by-night. He has studied this area, expert in petroleum, expert in oil and gas. He headed the
the
environment study. Nobody didn't give you nothing for free. He didn't pay for it neither. And one of the only persons I have seen who this government dismissed, Starbuck News, commentators, pundits have said you should have still be helming the Environmental Protection Agency in Guyana, the EPA, and not this jagabat that they got there currently. Doc, thanks for your time with us this evening.
Thanks, Sherrod, and thanks for the listeners. Hope to be back soon.
Excellent. Folks, that's going to do it for us this evening. I want to say big thank you, big thank you again to Dr. Adams for spending this time with us and making sense of the nonsense you hear in Papa Jagabat press conference, making sense of the nonsense you see in these headlines about, the satellite and looking for shimmer and glimmer on the water, making sense of stuff. If an Ali sit down on these summits overseas and talking, they could pump how much ever they want pump, and nothing not gonna happen with the environment and all that. He said get pump out too. So folks, I really want to say thanks again to Dr. Vincent Adams, a guy who is bright fellow. It is strange. You got people who fall out to university in year 2, get accepted some university IFLAT. Another fellow, he went to some Patrice Lumumba something. Somebody pay for something and he got an honorary doctorate. He vexed if you don't call him doctor. You got folks like Dr. Vincent Adams, the real deal, bright people who study this subject matter and know where we should be going. They are the people that fire it. And you heard Dr. Adams say, other young people who were there bright at EPA, those are the folks they're getting rid of. Why? Because they want yes men. And yes men got this secret team auditing the 214 million US that we should have in our coffers and bring it down to 3 million. It's them kind of yes men they want. But Dr. Vincent Adams have been standing up to Exxon Mobil, and I have no doubt in the future he will continue to stand up to them as well, because we know where this thing going. We know this thing, the greed of the PPP is we're going to drive them out of office. But that's going to do it for us at this end, folks. That's our time and that's our program. Thank you guys so much for staying with us. We've gone a couple of minutes over time, but I'm happy that you guys are still here with us. Folks, share the live, smash that emoji button, please, and thank you. And guys, partner with us as well. We can't do this without you, and we try to make it easy as the days goes by. For you to do that, you can scan this QR code right there, and partner with us. And for those of you who are new, here is how you can do so, folks, because unfortunately, we don't run on water. It takes something to keep the lights on and the doors open. And here's how you can partner with us. Thank you so much for joining us.
Want to keep getting the best in the ring?
Let's fight!
Yes, you can help us to keep going by partnering with us through your contributions. And it's easy. Send us a daily, weekly, or monthly donation, whichever is most convenient to you. Cash App at $ in the ring 592, Zelle and PayPal in the ring 592 at gmail.com, or WhatsApp us on 627-6963 for how to contribute via MoneyGram and Western Union and for MMG payments.
Yeah, and this little QR code here will take you to a page. We can accept your debit, your credit cards, folks. Easy as ABC, quick, fast, and so, folks, your Cash App card and all those other fancy international cards, and so that you guys can partner with us and keep us going. Good to see you, Sharon Castro, Edwards on the live, and Jacqueline, and Dorrit, and Vanilla Garnett, Veronica, Primo Rollins. Good to see you, Veronica, Sharon, Diane, and all the other folks joining us. That's going to do it for us this evening, folks. Have a great, fantastic evening. Thanks again, Dr. Vincent Adams, for spending this time with us. Stay safe, guys. That's our time, and that's our program. Share the live, smash the emoji button, partner to each other.